If you move it closer. Yeah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله يا شهيد كربلاء يا مظلوم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله إن الحسين باب من أبواب الجنة من عانده حرم الله عليه ريح الجنة. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi said, Hussein is one of the babs of Jannah. The one who antagonizes him, Allah has made the smell of paradise forbidden on him. There are many paths that lead to Behesht or Jannah. You can fast, do Rozeh, Siyam. You can do Salah. You can do good deeds. But Imam Hussein alayhi salam is one of those ways to Jannah. One of the keys to unlock this door to Jannah. But antagonizing him, doing aziyat, when you antagonize him, you go against him, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, this closes the door. And how was this done? Killing him, mocking his remembrance. Don't remember Imam Hussein. Silencing or putting down his azar today. Or insulting Imam Hussein. If you remember Qanat Safa, one channel in Arabic, there's one Nasibi, Egyptian, Muhammad Sabir, la'natullahi alayh. He died. He passed away a couple of years ago. He said, Hussein, yani sifr, Hussein zero. Hussein la qima lah. No, there's no value to him. Only Sayyid Shabab Ahl Jannah, that's it, that's reported. And he even said this da'if, Sayyid Shabab Ahl Jannah, da'if, is weak. And again, after that, what did he say? أنا أحب يزيد وأتردى عليه. I love Yazid and I say taraddi on him. This Misri, Muhammad Sabir, la'natullah alayh. So this is one way of antagonizing Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You go against his followers, you go against his azar, or you put his maqam, his status down. So whoever antagonize Imam Hussein, من عانده حرم الله عليه ريح الجنة. Allah makes paradise forbidden for that person, the smell of paradise. But a question comes, do we have, dalil for azadari? Yani dalil darim واسه سین زنی واسه قضا مثلا تو محرم این چیزا. Do we have a dalil for azar? Or is this bid'ah? Is this something new, mourning Hussein? Because mukhalifin, the people against the Shia, they say it's bid'ah. You don't have any basis. So let's answer this tonight because it's an important question. Especially from the kids at school. Some other people come to them and they say, oh, why do you hit yourselves? What, you're harming yourselves. So we'll respond to this, inshallah ta'ala. And we also see these people, they say open-minded, Roshan Fikr. They say like Karbala was 1,000 years ago. Hezar sal pish. Chera harf mizani darbare Karbala. Che fayda dare? We say that history, tarikh, is important for any events today to understand why we are here. Why all of you brothers are here as well, who, let's say you're not native English, it all revolves around a certain historical context, right? So history is important. Those who ignore history, they will repeat history. They're destined to repeat the wrong things. Why do we need to look into history? All academics agree, historians, that we look in history to learn from it. But tyrants don't learn. As I said, remember the other night, they tried to destroy the grave of Imam Hussein, and they ended up dying in the worst state. When did I say Saddam سعی می‌کرده که قبر حسین را خراب کنه و نتیجهش چی شد؟ همه ما دیدیم. We all saw what happened to him. You right? So this history repeats itself. And if you look into history, you learn from that. And we also see the oppression that exists today. Karbala, when we remember this each year, remember we mentioned the oppression, the dhulm that's happening in the world. So when we remember Karbala, obviously there's no comparison. There is no day like yours, Abu Abdullah. Sometimes obviously we hear every day is Ashura, but Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, he says no day is like the day of Abu Abdullah. But what we understand from oppression today in Ashura, it links in the sense that it's being repeated, a new form of oppression. So this is why it's important to remember it. And Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they said we have to remember this. And Rahimallahu man ahya amrana, Imam Rida alayhi salam said this. But Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says those who they laugh at the people who do azadari and remember Imam Hussein. He speaks about them and he says, by Allah, they are deviant in their ways. Deviant yani qumra. They're in dalala, you see, they're misguided. And he says they don't have any thawab, they don't have that because they mock the people. And then after that, they are distant from the Prophet. So in Kamil al-Ziyarat, he says what? They are deviant, they have no thawab, reward, and they have no relation with the Prophet. Those who, they laugh at those who do azadari of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So why do we do it? Let me go into it. Because of ishq, love. The reason for azadari is love. And human nature, this is in human nature, when we want to remember something, we have discomfort. For example, fasting روزه. چرا روزه میگیریم بعضی وقتا؟ چون که ما میفهمیم مثلا گداها چه احساس میکنند و امام صادق اینو گفت در احادیث. گفت مثلا کسی که پولدار هست اگر روزه بگیره بله میتونه احساس کنه فقرا چه احساس میکنند. So what does Imam Sadiq say? He says a reason for fasting, one of the reasons, obviously it's for taqwa. He says so the rich become equal to the poor through it. And they feel the pain of jur, of hunger, right? So basically, since the rich are able to obtain whatever they desire, Allah wanted to create equality among His creatures and make the rich taste hunger. So this is one way. This is discomfort. Islam doesn't say, okay, don't make yourself no, discomfort is good sometimes. You make yourself uncomfortable, like sometimes you do an azar. One of them is fasting to feel. This is natural. And I remember years ago I was fasting. My wife was late. You know, she was meant to bring some food. I had no food. So I ate something, little thing, and I got sardard, headache. And then after that I said, wow, it actually made me think that, okay, these poor people, I'm complaining here, I don't have any food at the moment, it's coming. What about the poor people who don't have any food? That maybe they have khurmas, small dates, they eat it and that's their iftar. So fasting is one way of discomfort which teaches a human being how others feel. So what I'm saying is naturally as humans, we sometimes put ourselves in this discomfort to feel how others feel. Secondly is cold or heat exposure. So I saw one program, yeah? This guy, he lived homeless on the streets. So someone say, why are you putting yourself in possible harm? Why are you putting yourself in the cold, in danger? because he did a documentary. He wanted to see how homeless people feel. How are you going to do that? You put yourself in the situation. You put yourself in cold, or let's say in heat. You can't shower. You maybe get some harm from this because you're breathing in cold air. But he did this to feel what they feel. Does anyone say problem? No, no problem with this. They don't say there's any problem. Why? Because he's doing an experiment. He's testing himself. So this is another way we see people, even they're not Muslim, they put themselves in discomfort to feel what other people feel. Physical things. Sometimes, arba'in, you walk thousands of steps, right? Sometimes for charity, you say, I'm going to walk hundreds of miles to raise money. You get blisters on your feet, right? You feel tired. Is this haram? No. Maybe you get a little bit of harm, tiny bit of harm, but it's for a good cause. And even non-Muslim people, everyone would say, this is good you're doing. Okay, you walked so many miles, but you did for a good cause. So these are 3 examples of where harm can be something praiseworthy, discomfort. One more quick example. I watched a program about prison, right? There was one lady, her daughter was in prison. So she said for the program she's going to be in prison for 2 months, so she feels how her daughter feels. Someone say, why are you going to prison? Because you'll want to feel the discomfort, right? So what am I saying here? The point is, in order to feel discomfort or suffering of others, you sometimes put yourself in that situation. And we see this is natural in the fitrah of the human being, that they do this as we see with non-Muslims. So she put herself in prison for 2 months where it's dangerous, and she ate the bad food, discomfort, but for the sake of feeling the pain her daughter felt from being in prison. Okay, one objection. Isn't harming yourself haram? Sinazani, harm, zarar. Is this not haram? Always Ahlus Sunnah, they come to Shia, you're harming yourselves. How do we answer this? Now, one thing they quote is وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Do not throw yourselves into your own destruction. They say, Ya Rafid, you see the Quran says you can't harm yourself, you're refuted. How we answer this? We say that context matters. Not all harm is haram. What do I mean by this? Yes, if you commit suicide, if you cut off one of your limbs, completely haram, you can't do this. But this verse is not talking about that. Some of the ulama first say it means do not put yourself into what? Destruction, meaning in the akhirah. Don't live a life where you do bad things and sins so that you make yourself in Jahannam. This is one understanding of the ayah. The other understanding is extreme harm. Again, as I said, we'll say why is not all harm haram? Some of it could be good harm. But extreme harm, that you nearly kill yourself, yes, this is not allowed. Is this extreme harm? No, it could be acceptable. And if you want to say all harm is haram, I say چرا پپسی میخوری مثلا؟ چیز داره که ضرر داره مثلا تو پپسی. Pepsi and certain types of food, I can show you scientifically, it has one ingredient, aspartame. They say this causes cancer. So is it haram for you now to drink Pepsi? I can prove it's got harm. I said this to one of them at my work. He didn't have an answer. I said, you're drinking Pepsi with full sugar. A dentist will say this is harmful for your teeth. Is it haram? They couldn't say it's haram. It's a type of harm, but it's not extreme harm. But we're not saying it's not a good harm to do, eat bad food. Of course, we say this. Yeah, if you become very fat and you eat lots of fast food, some people die from this. Then it's haram. The doctor says you're going to die if you're this big and you continue eating. If you continue doing that, of course it's haram now. You have to eat healthy food. But let's say Friday or Thursday, whatever, you want to have a treat. You eat some food which is fast food. Okay, maybe there's a little bit of harm, but it's not haram. So how do we answer this? Islam Web, a Sunni website, I was looking today, interesting. Everyone knows what hunger strike is. Does everyone understand hunger strike? وقتی که احتراز میکنی شما میگی که غذا نمیخورم اصلا آب نمیخورم. This is hunger strike. Of course this has harm in it, right? Some people from hunger strike, they died. But what does the Sunni website say? They say going on hunger strike, if it's only way to get your haqq, you need to do hunger strike as a protest. it's permitted, jaiz, yajuz. You can do a hunger strike if there is no other way, Marku hal thani. So you can do a hunger strike, but you should not go on to the strike until your death, because killing yourselves is haram. So we Shias do the same thing. We don't do azadari to kill ourselves. We don't do sinazani to kill ourselves. We put ourselves in mild discomfort, a little bit of discomfort, to remember in Karbala and share some of their suffering, although it's nothing. So if they want to say that this is haram, then why do your scholars allow hunger strike? People have died from hunger strike. Some people, they don't want to die, but they keep not eating and drinking and they die. So if you say that doing this is haram and bid'ah, you have to say hunger strike is also haram because it's harm. Is this harm haram harm? No. Everyone would say, okay, there's a little bit of harm, but it has a better purpose. And of course, we say that yes, you can't do azadari. Abbas, Abu Fadl Abbas, he had his hand cut off. I say, I'm going to cut my hand for Abbas. No, this is not azadari, because now you're physically impairing yourself. There's a red line when it comes sometimes to what you can do. So we don't accept this. So what is my point? This shows when we can't have the same pain, naturally a human being, he wants to share some pain, so he does similar things. Just like I said with the prison example, or sleeping on the street, being homeless, to share their pain. This is natural in the human, and we share some of their pain, which is not a harm that kills yourself or actually damages yourself. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, because we're limited in time, I will go through, okay, the things which is ahya, the ihya of Muharram. What are the things we normally do? Majalis. What's the dalil for majalis? Buka, crying. What's the dalil for that? Mourning rituals like sinazani. Cooking food. As we cook food. Qaza darast mikonیم واسه محرم واسه هر شب نظری میدیم. این دلیل داره یا بدعت هست؟ بعضی از وهابی ها میگن این شرکه. دلیل هست؟ بله. دلیل داریم تو کتاب ما از امام های ما که این سنتشون بود. و من بهت میگم چه دلیل داریم. So cooking food, we have proof that some of the imams, they cooked food in the majalis. This is not even something from farhang or culture. It has a basis. We'll speak about this. And feeding people in the name of Al-Bayt. Majalis. When was the first majlis? The first majlis, اول مجلس تو دادگاه یزید لعنت الله علیه بود. وقتی که لیدی زینب سلام الله علیها حرف زد و یزید را افشا میکرد. این اول مجلس بود. چون که بعضی از آدم ها گریه کردن توی مجلس. The first majlis was when Lady Zainab salam Allah alayha exposed this mal'oon Yazid in front of his face and said, you are arrogant liar. She says, do you think, O Yazid, that because you led us like prisoners, this makes you noble? You rejoice because the world is bent in your favor, but you've forgotten the words of Allah. We give them respite only to increase their sin. So Allah lets these people live longer so they do more sin. So their adhab, their punishment is more severe. You expose the daughters of Rasulullah like captives while hiding your own women. So this is what Yazid غیرت نداره ما عند غیره. This mal'oon, he didn't have ghira because the woman, the nisa of Rasulullah, they took them in front of the men and paraded them. And this is hard, painful for us to expose. So this was the first majlis where zulm and crying was held, and then later it developed. And again, we have for qaza. چه دلیل داریم واسه qaza? What proof do we have for cooking? When we look at some other narrations and majalis, it says when Imam Hussein was killed, the women of Bani Hashim dressed themselves in black, seated in their houses, not caring about if it's hot and cold. Sometimes you go to majalis, it's very crowded. Alhamdulillah, we have space here. And your discomfort, but these women did not care. And Imam Sajjad, he would prepare food for them while they all wept. In روایت میگه که امام سجاد علیه السلام غذا را درست کرد برای خانوم ها که مجلس داشتن برای امام حسین علیه السلام. و این زنها چی داشتن؟ رنگ سیاه پوشیدن، لباس سیاه گریه کردم و امام سجاد غذا را درست کرد. این تو کتاب محاسن هست. واسه همین یا علاقه خر وهابی این بدعت نیست، این از سنت پیغمبر خدا و آل محمد علیهم السلام. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد. So quickly, the key lessons was that Azadari, it began with Ahlul-Bayt alayhim as-salam, with Lady Zainab. Wearing black, obviously it's makruh normally, except the abba, the amama and the slippers. But wearing black for Imam Hussein becomes mustahab based on the niyyah. It shows that Imam Sajjad, salamullahi alayhi, he served food to the mourners. So when we serve food, it's not something even just from culture we made up. Imam Sajjad did this. And then it shows crying, coming together, mourning is resistance and preservation and done by the woman of Bani Hashim. And Imam Sajjad, he didn't say this is wrong. Rather, he served towards this. So again, this comes from the Imam service and love. So why do we cry? Some people, they cry over stupid things. My football team lost a match, so I'm crying over my football team. But when you cry over things with value, this is something good. So we find that we cry not because we doubt God's plan, but because we recognize Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and their suffering. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, the sins whoever weep, even if it's less than the wing of a mosquito, when we are mentioned before him, will be forgiven, and his sins are greater, even if his sins are greater than the foam of an ocean. So Imam Sadiq میگه اگر گریه میکنی برای امام حسین حتی یه قطره خیلی کوچیک تمام گناه شما میبخشه، یعنی میره. حتی اگر گناه های شما مثل یه دریا هست که یعنی خیلی گناه دارید، با نیت پاک و مخلص خدا شما را میبخشه. و این ثابت میشه که چیه؟ گریه خیلی ثواب داره. امام صادق گفت. So it shows that crying is encouraged in this context. Not crying 24/7. I'm going to be depressed every day because my team lost or I have a problem at work. No, but for Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, it has severe reward. Ya laytana kunna ma'akum. We cry because of what? Because we want to be spiritually present, our hearts with Abu Abdullah. This is why we cry, showing our allegiance. And crying is from the sunnah of Payghambar sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Wa ali Muhammad. Everyone knows that there are narrations, hadith in Shia book and Sunni book, that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he cried for Imam Hussein. And because he had the ilm al-ghayb, he knew that Imam Hussein would be martyred on Karbala. So crying goes back to the sunnah of Rasulullah. Sunnah of the Imma is sunnah of Rasulullah. من گفتم که در کتاب‌های سنی و شیعه پیغمبر خدا یه خواب دید و دید که حسین کشته میشه در عرض کربلا و به زنش سلمه گریه میکرد. واسه همین من میگن قبل از امامهای ما این سنت پیغمبر خدا بود، گریه برای امام حسین، و دلیل هست تو کتاب‌های سنی و شیعه. So this proof is in both the books that you say, oh, I'm follow the Wahhabis say as bid'ah, you're crying for Imam Hussein. You shouldn't be sad. But this is what the Prophet did, the Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Also scientific benefits. Some say, okay, crying sometimes can be good. If you look in science, 2008 study in the University of South Florida, they said that emotional crying can flush out stress chemicals and promote psychological balance. So even psychologically, from scientific studies, they said crying sometimes it offers emotional relief to a person. So this is from a scientific perspective. So sometimes we don't cry for a long time. Crying, again, first you get thawab religiously, and secondly, even scientifically, it can be good, but not overly crying. The next thing is seen as any matam. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he gives us a principle. Is matam in the hadith? Do we have any proof for this or not? First off, he says crying and jaza, you shouldn't really do it except over Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Indeed, one who cries and he acts impatiently will be rewarded. So what is jaza? Jaza is when you show that you are sad and you're in grief, type of distress, he said this is fine for Imam Hussein. And this is rewardable. And there are many ways to do this. So Imam Sadiq گفت که مثلا جزع که شما نشون میدید که خیلی ناراحت هستید، خیلی استرس دارید وقتی که مثلا داستان عاشورا رو شنیدید، این چیز خوبه جزع. و خیلی مثلا طریق ها میتونید نشون مثلا چه جزع نشون بدید، از سینه زنی، از بکا، از گریه، خیلی هست. There's a lot of them. So he gives us a principle that jaza can be in many ways. So what's a common way of jaza? It is latam. And when we see someone recites poetry. So you say, okay, where does this latamiya noha come from? We have hadith again from Imam Sadiq. He says, ما من أحد قال في الحسين شعرا فبكى وأبكى به إلا أوجب الله له الجنة وغفر له. He says that the one who recites poetry and weeps for Imam Hussein and makes others cry. So why are you making people cry? Who makes others cry? Allah makes paradise incumbent upon them and forgives their sins. So وقتی که مددا مثلا نوحه میخونه این چیز خوبه و مردم گریه میکنه، امام صادق گفت که این زیاد ثواب داره برای مردم. و وقتی که شعر میگن یا نوحه میگه این تو روایات ما. So what we got now? Showing jaza. If I do this, there's grief. This is jaza. Reciting poetry. Again, Imam Sadiq says reciting poetry is something good for Imam Hussein. So poetry is a form of azadari, and it is a type of thing that will make others weep and encourage the message. So we see what? Weeping and causing others to weep, getting Jannah and forgiveness of sins. So it combines art with spirituality. But it's not wajib. Someone doesn't need to hit their chest, but people do this out of grief. But is it proven from other sources? Ziyaratun Nahiya, we see from attribute to Imam Mahdi. He says, and the heavenly maids struck themselves while lamenting you. So the Hur al-Ain in this ziyarah, it says that they struck themselves. Imam Mahdi says this while mourning Abu Abdullah. What does this go to? Sina Zani, Latam. So این میگه که مثلا تو این زیارت که از امام مهدی که حور العین در جنه خودشون یعنی زدن، سینه زدن برای امام حسین وقتی که عزاداری میکردن برای امام حسین. این توی زیارت هست. So this indicates that mourning azar can be heavenly as well from this ziyarah. And of course, Latam, again, we find other things which have happened and which I'll read. But let's show a poetry, a poem that was read to Imam Rida alayhi salam. Someone said to Imam Rida alayhi salam, had Fatima Zahra seen the crushed body of Hussein and how he died thirsty beside the banks of the river Euphrates, she would have struck her face in grief with tears streaming down her cheeks. So Imam Reza, he hears this poem, he hears it, and he doesn't say, this is wrong. Fatima Zahra wouldn't do this. The Imam has to say this, iqrar. Sometimes if the ma'sumin, they see someone do something, if this is haram or wrong, they have to say something. When this poem was recited to Imam Rida alayhi salam, he never said, no, Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayhi, she wouldn't hit her face. Imam Rida alayhi salam, he accepted this. Just like when we say for the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if he does something, if someone does something in front of him and he doesn't say anything, it's fine. Otherwise it's wajib. Rasulullah has to say this is wrong. So Imam Rida alayhi salam didn't say anything. So this shows that Fatima Zahra, she would express grief in this way. Again, everything is halal until you know it's haram. So من میگم به مثلا سنی ها و وهابی ها چه دلیل دارید که سینه زنی حرامه، ضرر نداره و حتی اگر ضرر داره بله حرام نیست. ضرر اگر بله دست شما قطع میکنی بله این حرامه. What proof is there that latam is haram? If you can't bring any proof, then it's halal. Let's say I do this, I don't have a niyyah, but then I do it for Imam Hussein. Now it becomes something mustahab with thawab, you see. So everything, a general rule in fiqh, Everything is halal until what? Asalatul bara'a, until you know it's haram. They don't have any proof that this is haram. So that means latam, it remains permissible. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allah. There are 3 types of proof supporting latam. I'll mention these before we finish, which we can find in history. So there's general encouragement for mourning for Imam Hussein. So the Prophet told Sayyidah Fatima, he told her in the future, those people, they will mourn for Imam Hussein. So this is what will happen to your son, that he will be slaughtered and people will cry over him in future. So Rasulullah said this. So latam is one form of lamentation. Imam says jaza. How do you do jaza? Maybe it depends according to your culture. You can do it in different ways. Yes, we shouldn't start dancing. There's some people, they start dancing or they make the latam like a disco. No, this is wrong. But if according to your culture it's fine and it doesn't cause a bad image, no problem of doing that. In New Zealand, have anyone seen New Zealand, the natives? They do some type of chanting. When the Muslims got killed in the masjid in New Zealand, they came out and they did this chanting. To us, maybe it's a bit strange, but in their culture, it's jaza, right? So let's say one of them become Muslim, and there are some who are Muslim, and they do this type of chanting for who? For Imam Hussein. We can't say it's bid'ah. They take the qa'idah jaza, and they do it in their way and their culture. So this is one example. Imam Sadiq, again, there's another thing where he says that in history, the people, when they heard about Abu Abdullah, they tore their seams, their robes, and they struck their cheeks out of sadness for Hussein ibn Ali. And it was upon the likes of him that the cheeks would be struck and the outer robes torn. So this is in Tahdhib al-Ahkam by Sheikh Tusi. So again, Imam Sadiq, he shows this. And these acts were done in the time of Imam Baqir and Imam Sadiq. People did this. They hit themselves, they tore their clothes. Where did the Imam say it's wrong? Did Imam Sadiq alayhi salam say this is bid'ah and haram? No. He reports it in a narration and he doesn't condemn it. Again, showing, okay, these women, they're not ma'sumin, but if the Imam approves their action as mourning, then there's no problem about that. So striking your cheeks, tearing your clothes is a type of azar. One more thing, we go to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. When he reached Karbala and informed the women about what happened, when he informed them what was going to happen, they began to weep and struck their faces out of grief and tore their robes. Imam Hussein alayhi salam didn't forbid this. Yes, he told Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayha to be patient in front of the enemy. There are some riwayat about not, striking yourself, ripping your clothes. This was just to preserve that dignity in front of the enemy. But Imam Hussein alayhi salam or Imam Sadiq, they didn't forbid this. That was a time period. Lady Zainab also struck her face, ripped her seam of her outer clothes, hit her cheeks on the night of Ashura, according to other narrations. So this shows that, again, this was something done by the women of Al-Bayt. And then again, Imam Hussein alayhi salam in the final farewell sermon, he says, the women, when hearing his words that he's departing, they began to weep while striking themselves. So I finished this lecture. What did we learn? We learned that jaza is a general principle. You can do it in different ways. Hitting yourself out of grief for Imam Hussein or crying are all things which are jaza and rewarded. And having majalis was done by Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, and the women of Ahlul Bayt. Making food was done by Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, and even the heavenly Hur al-Ain in Jannah, according to that ziyarah, they hit themselves. But how can we not strike our chests when we remember Abbas Abu Fadil on such a night? Brothers and sisters, we ask, how can we not strike our chests? How can the hands not stay still when the heart remembers Abu Fadil al-Abbas, when he rode to the river not for himself but for the thirsty children, crying al-Atash, al-Atash. From every corner of the camp the sound of thirst echoed, Abbas at the Euphrates River, he fought fiercely, cut through the enemy ranks, and he cut through the enemy ranks to reach the Euphrates. When he arrived at the water, he looked at it, leaned down and paused. How could he be selfish and drink while Hussein, his brother, was thirsty? He whispered also after Hussein, what are you worth? He filled the bag with water, not for himself, but for Ruqayya and the children. On his return, an enemy soldier struck him right in his right arm and severed it, but Hazrat Abbas, he kept fighting. He carried the water then on his left hand, and then his left hand was cut. Still Hazrat Abbas, he would not stop. Determined, he clutched the strap of the water, even in his teeth, charging forward, until Harmala Na'natullahi alayhi struck an arrow into his eye. Another arrow burst the water bag. He could not get this water bag to the innocent children who were thirsty at that time. And Abu Fadl then fell fiercely onto the ground from his horse. This fall happened when Abu Fadl, he did not have hands, O believers. When you or I fall, our first instinct is to put our hands down and stretch them. But Abu Fadl Abbas, he had no hands to stretch on the ground. How does a warrior fall like this when there is nothing to catch him on the earth? At that moment, Imam Hussein, he rushed to his side. He lifted Abbas's head into his lap, but Abbas gently removed it. Again, the Imam placed it. Again, Abbas removed it to the sand. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he said, why, O brother? Abbas said, my master, I know when your time comes, there will be no one left to cradle your head. Let me die as you die, with your head on the sand, not in a lap, but on the dust of Karbala. Besides, I am your servant, you are my master. How can I place my head on your lap, Ya Hussein? At this time, Hussein burst into tears. The sight of his brother's body, it shattered him. A loyalty so deep it broke the heart of the Imam. The final wishes of Abbas, he said, I have a few wishes. When I was born, my first sight was your face. Now let my last vision be of you, Ya Hussein. But one eye is pierced and the other is filled with blood. If you wipe away the blood, I can see your face, Ya Hussein. The Imam wiped away the blood. One eye opened. Abbas looked upon his brother, his Imam, for the last time. And he says, do not carry my body back to the tents. I promised water to Ruqayya and I failed. How can I face her even in death? And my third wish, do not bring Ruqayya here. She loved me too much. And if she sees me like this, it will kill her heart. And then Hussein sobbed and said, Abbas, I have one wish all your life. You've called me master, just once call me brother, akhi. The two brothers looked at each other, and Abu Fadl Abbas had his final breath and said, Ya akhi, ya akhi. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. أسألكم أن تقرأوا سورة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.
So, right now it's the high time, parents. We have a short story about Hazrat Abul Fazl. Inshallah, bring all the kids close to yourself, and inshallah we will listen and learn together. Tonight is the night of 9th of Muharram. Surely tonight we will shed more tears. We will do more matam. Tonight is a very tragic night. It's the night of Hazrat Abbas. Abbas. Who was Abbas? Abbas the captain. Abbas the commander. Abbas the brave and strong warrior. Abbas the alamdar, flag bearer. Abbas, the faithful brother. Abbas, the guardian of Kulthum and Bibi Zainab. Abbas, Sakina's dearest uncle. Abbas, son of al-Banin. Abbas, the lion, son of Ali. Abbas was like the father, Ali. He had all the qualities of his great father. Abbas was brave, strong, wise, loving, obedient, and faithful. His father Ali, on his dying bed, gave Abbas' hand to Hussein, said that, "My son Abbas, Hussein is the son of Bibi Fatima. Abbas, you are my son. Abbas, Hussein is your master. You are Hussein's slave. Slav? Abbas, take care of Hussein." Since the day Abbas had fulfilled Hussein's every wish like a faithful slave, Abbas treated Hussein like his master. He always treated Bibi Kulthum and Bibi Zainab with great respect. He followed Hussein like a shadow. Abbas was with Hussein in Karbala. Hussein knew Abbas was like their father, Ali, a brave and a strong warrior. He would tell Abbas, "My brother Abbas, keep your sword in its place. Don't take your sword out to fight. We have come to save Islam. Abbas, we have come to teach true Islam. We will teach Islam, not with our sword, but with our character. Patience, Abbas, patience." When Yazid's men pulled out Hussein's tents from the river bank, Abbas became very angry. He pulled out his sword and wanted to fight there and then. Hussein said, "No, Abbas, no, be patient. We have not come here to fight, Abbas." Imagine a warrior like Abbas asked not to pull his sword out after being treated so badly. That needs great patience. Ashura came. Ali Akbar gave his last adhan. Everyone in Hussein's camp prayed Fajr Salat. The Battle of Karbala began. One by one, Hussein's camp companions went to the battlefield and were martyred. Every time a body was brought to the tent, Abbas went to Hussein and said, "Master, now allow me to go to the battlefield. Enough. Master, enough. Let me go and fight those beastly men. Master." Every time Hussein calmed Abbas down by saying, "No, Abbas, no. How can I let you go? You are the captain of my army. You are my right-hand man. Abbas, you are my support. Abbas, where would I be without you? Abbas, no. Abbas, no." Abbas, 3 brothers went to the battlefield and were martyred. Muhammad went to the battlefield and were martyred. Qasim went. His body was trampled and torn to pieces. Abbas became very restless and could not take it anymore. Somehow he must get permission. Abbas walked to Kulthum and Zainab's tent and turned back. Then turned back. He knew they won't let him go. Abbas walked to Hussein's tent several times and back again. How could he persuade Hussein to let him go? Abbas is restless. Abbas wants permission to fight. Just then, little Sakina with her mashk came to Abbas. "Uncle Abbas, look at my mashk. It's very dry. Al-Atash, Uncle Sakina is very thirsty, Uncle Abbas." Abbas thought of a way to get permission from Hussein. He picked little Sakina, and went to Hussein's tent. Abbas sat in front of Hussein with Sakina on his lap. Abbas didn't have to say anything. Hussein looked at Abbas and then at Sakina and her mashk. Hussein understood Abbas. expression. Abbas, how can I say no now? You have brought Sakina with you. Go, Abbas, go. Go and fill Sakina's mashk with water. One request, Abbas, leave your sword with me. Remember, Abbas, you are not going to the fight. You're just going to get water for Sakina. Abbas gave his sword to Hussein. He kissed Sakina and put her down. He said, Sakina, pray for me. Pray that I get water for you. Abbas then went to Zainab. Sister Zainab gave me permission to go to the battlefield. Brother Abbas, I used to hear that my hijab would be looted. Abbas, I used to say, how dare could anyone snatch my hijab? When I have 18 brothers, now Abbas, that you are going, I believe that my hijab will really be looted. Abbas went to the battlefield. In one hand, Abbas carried the alam of Hussein's army, and in the other, he held a spear and Sakina's mashk. He had no sword to fight, but had a spear for protection. He headed for river Furat. Yazid's soldier saw Abbas coming. They had seen Abbas fight and knew he was like his father, Ali. They were scared. The few who dared to attack Abbas were killed by his spear. Abbas reached the river and filled Sakina's mashk. He then asked his faithful horse to drink water. The horse looked toward Hussein's camp and seems to say, Master, are you sure that the water will reach Sakina? Master, how can I drink when Sakina and Ali Asghar are thirsty? Let us first give them water, and then I will drink some. Abbas, with his alam is one hand and his spear and Sakina's water-filled mashk in the other, rode back. Umar Sa'd, Yazid's commander, ordered his men to stop Abbas taking water to Hussein tents. The enemy surrounded Abbas. They fired arrows from all directions. Abbas was hit with many arrows. He was bleeding. Just then a soldier came from behind and struck his sword on Abbas' shoulder. Abbas gripped the mashk with his teeth. As his arm and spear fell to the ground, another soldier came and struck his sword into Abbas' other shoulder. Then alam and the other arm fell to the ground. Imagine Abbas on his horse, no arms, holding Sakina's mashk between his teeth. Water must reach Sakina. Abbas still had the strength to go on. Sakina's mashk is still filled with water. An arrow was shot. It hit Sakina's mashk. The water began to pour out. Poor Abbas lost all his strength as water poured out from Sakina's mashk. He fell from his horse and cried out, Master, come to me. Master, let me see you for the last time. Hussein here, Abbas. He was heartbroken with his hands on his back, and he cried out, Son, Ali Akbar, my back is gone. My support is gone. My alamdar is gone. Hussein and Ali Akbar rushed to the battlefield. Hussein saw his brother lying on the ground. Imagine how Hussein felt when he saw his brother lying on the ground, covered with blood, both arms severed. He placed Abbas' head on his lap. My brother, Abbas, you're leaving me too. Abbas, what will I do without you? My support, Abbas, I'm finished without you. My brother, Abbas, can I do anything for you? Yes, master, when I come to this world, I saw your face first. Now, as I'm going from this world, Master, I would like to see your face for the last time. Abbas, why can't you see me? Master, my eyes are covered with blood. Imam Hussein cleaned Abbas' eyes. Abbas gazed at Hussein. Abbas, I have a wish too. All your life you have called me Master. Once, brother Abbas, just once, call me brother. Abbas said, Hussein, my brother, do not take my body to the tents. I'm ashamed of myself. I don't want Sakina to see me. I don't want my sister Kulthum and Zainab to see me like this. I don't want Kulthum and Zainab to cry. Abbas took his last breath and died on Hussein's lap. Poor Hussein. What should he do now? Hussein picked up the alam and tied Sakina's mask to it. Sakina saw the alam coming. She shouted, children! Come, children, my uncle Abbas is coming with water. I will give all of you water. Come, children, come. Hussein reached to tent. He cried out, Zainab, help me. Zainab. سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد علمدار نیامد علمدار نیامد.
یه صلوات ختم. عبد گناهکارت دلش بی قراره، دلش بی قراره. درسته گناهکاری ولی شب تاسوعا اومدیم خدا. عبد گناهکارت دلش بی قراره، دلش بی قراره، دلش بی قراره. بندت به غیر از تو کسی رو نداره، کسی رو نداره، کسی رو نداره. خدایا از بس که مهربونی تو، دلیل این اشکامو میدونی تو، میدونی تو، میدونی تو. معلوم نیست سال دیگه محرم باشیم یا نه ها. داره میشه تباه، خدایا ببخش، خدایا ببخش. خوب وقتی ها، خوب فرصتی گیر آوردی. داره میشه تباه، خدایا ببخش، خدایا ببخش. خستم از بار گناه، خدایا ببخش، خدایا ببخش. از همه تشنه ترم، خدایا ببخش. جان سقای حرم، خدایا ببخش، خدایا ببخش. صدا زد علی که بیرون برن، بمونن کنارم بنی فاطمه. فقط این میون کسی که باید با اینها بمونه علم دارمه. اول فضل من، علم دار من، توان سپاه حسین و حسن. بیا محجبین کنارم بشین، بده جان بابای قولی به من. حالا چی میگه امام علی به عباس؟ یادت باشه کار به هر جا رسید، تا آخر کنار حسینم بمون. ابوالفضل من، علمدار من، نزاری به عشق جسارت کنن، نزاری یه وقت تا تو زنده ای، همین کوفیا خیمه غارت کنن. حسینم بدون، حسینم بدون، تو اون خاک و خون، تو آتیش به قلب خدا میزنی. یه روزی میاد غریب غریب، توی خاک و خون دست و پا میزنی. حسین 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 جان، حسین حسین. کسی ساکت نباشه، شب تاسوعا نگی کی میخوای بگی؟ حسین 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 جان. یا صاحب الزمان، ایشالله یه روز بیاد شما روزه بخونیم، ما گریه کنیم. گرد و خاکی شد و از خیمه دوتا آینه رفت، ماه از میسر خورشید هم از میمنه رفت. بعضی نوشتن ابا عبدالله گفت عباس بیا با هم بزنیم قلب لشکر. با هم رفتن قرار از هم خبر بگیرن با تکبیر، قرار ابی عبدالله راه باز کنه، عباس آب بیاره. ماه در کسوت سقا به میان آمده است، رود برخاست که موسی به میان آمده است. رود از بس که شعف داشت تلاطم می کرد. آخه عباس واردش شده. رود از بس که شعف داشت تلاطم می کرد، رود با خاک کف پاش تیمم می کرد. ماه افتاد در آینه ز تصویر بگو، مشک لبریز شد از علقمه تکبیر بگو. عباس دستاشو زیر آب برد فذکرتش الحسین. عباس چه میکنی؟ هنوز 6 ماهه حسین تشنه است، هنوز حسین تشنه است. وقت ناله کردن ها. یه مرتبه بی عبدالله هراسان شد، قرار بود صدای تکبیر عباس رو بشنوه، چرا صدا نمیاد؟ ای صدا زد انا ابن فاطمه الزهرا. عباس جواب بده. انا ابن فاطمه الزهرا، انا ابن علی المرتضی. یه دفعه صدای عباس اومد، دید صدای هلهله داره میاد. دومین بار تو کربلا هلهله میکنن و یه وقت دید صدای ضعیفی صدای عباسه، ولی چی داره میگه؟ تا حالا برادرشو اینطور صدا نزده. اخا ادرک اخاک. های های های. دیگه اینگار هیچ آبی تو مشکش باقی نمونده. پاشو علم داره حرم، هنوز علم داری. حالا حسین چی میگه بالا سر عباس؟ پاشو علم داره حرم، هنوز علم داری. پاشو آوردم دست تا تو علم رو برداری، پاشو میخوام بدونم که کاشف الکروبی، پاشو میخوام تو صحرا علم تو بکوبی. یا ساقی العطاشا یا ساقی العطاشا. نمیخوای بابا عبدالله هم نوایی کنی؟ یا ساقی العطاشا یا ساقی العطاشا یا ساقی روزه تمومه ها، همین دو خط. عباس دو تا خواسته داره از حسین، سرش رو دامن ابی عبدالله، ببینم دل داری یا نه. دو تا خواسته داره از برادرش، حسین جان برادرم منو حرم نبر، من از روی اهل خیام خجالت میکشم. دومین خواستش چیه؟ حسین جان این گرد و خاک از رو صورتم کنار بزن، میخوام یه بار دیگه صورتت رو ببینم. ابوالفضل ابا صداش بزن، ابوالفضل ابوالفضل، همه صداش میزنن ابوالفضل. عباسم ای برادرم برادرم برادرم، عباسم ای برادرم برادرم برادرم، عباسم ای برادرم برادرم. Please everyone come forward. بیاید جلو قربون قدماتون. عباسم ای برادرم برادرم برادرم، عباسم ای برادرم برادرم برادرم، عباسم ای برادرم. ماشاءالله خوب میگی ها. عباسم ای برادرم برادرم برادرم، دست منو ببین. عباسم ای برادرم برادرم برادرم، عباسم ای برادرم. یه بار دیگه بگو ها ماشاءالله. عباسم ای برادرم برادرم، ای برادرم. غیرتی بگو ها. یه بار دیگه بلند همه بگن. عباسم ای برادرم برادرم برادرم، عباسم ای زده به قلب لشکر پور رشید حیدر، زده به قلب لشکر پور رشید حیدر، داره میره کمی آب بیاره برا علی اصغر، زده به قلب لشکر پور رشید حیدر، داره میره کمی آب بیاره برا علی اصغر. میونه حلقه ستم دیده میشه هنوز علم. میونه حلقه ستم دیده میشه هنوز علم. میگن تموم بچه ها کاشکی عمو بیاد حرم. وای وای ساقی کربلا، وای وای امید خیمه ها، وای وای امید خیمه ها، وای وای ساقی کربلا، وای وای امید خیمه ها، امید خیمه ها، وای وای ساقی کربلا، وای وای امید خیمه ها، وای وای ساقی کربلا، وای وای امید خیمه ها. خیره به موج دریا، خیره به موج دریا، چشمای خیس سقا، صدای العتش های حرم میره تا آسمون ها. خیره به موج دریا، چشمای خیس سقا، صدای العتش های حرم میره تا آسمون ها. دلاوریش زبون زده، تو شجاعت سر آمده، پسر شیر خیبر و قمر آل احمده. وای وای ساقی کربلا، وای وای امید خیمه ها، وای. همه بگن شب تاسوعا ساکت نباشی. وای ساقی کربلا، وای وای امید خیمه ها، وای وای. هلهله ها بلنده، هلهله ها بلنده، داره عدو میخنده، وقتی که زخم ساقی رو حسین با گریه هاش میبنده. هلهله ها بلنده، داره عدو میخنده، وقتی که زخم ساقی رو حسین با گریه هاش میبنده. با پیکری بدون دست ماه حرم به خون نشست، با پیکری بدون دست ماه حرم به خون نشست. دیده خیمه خون شد و کمر آسمون شکست. وای وای ساقی کربلا، وای وای امید خیمه ها، وای وای ساقی کربلا، امید خیمه ها، وای وای امید خیمه ها، وای وای ساقی کربلا، وای وای امید خیمه ها، وای. ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، علمدار. بلدی یا همه بگن ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، ای علمدار نیامد، سقای حسین سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار، سقای حسین سید و سالار. علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، علمدار. عباس یعنی شمع بزم هاشمیون، عباس یعنی ماه بین فاطمیون، عباس یعنی شیر حیدر، عباس یعنی کربلا رو میر و لشکر، عباس یعنی حیدری دیگر به پیکار، عباس یعنی میر و سقا و علمدار، عباس یعنی نور مصباح هدایت، عباس یعنی کشته راه ولایت، عباس یعنی شیر مرد از خردسالی، عباس یعنی زاده مولا الموالی، عباس یعنی ماه شبهای مدینه، عباس یعنی آرزوهای سکینه، عباس یعنی دست حی داور، عباس یعنی خون سار الله اکبر، ابوالفضل ابوالفضل ابوالفضل. ماه من تو کجا و خاک کجا، آخه نشده بود ابی عبدالله بیاد بالا سر عباسش خوابیده باشه، همیشه یک قدم عقب‌تر از ابا عبدالله راه میره. ماه من تو کجا و خاک کجا، آسمان را سپرده ای به زمین، خوب شد زینبم نبود و ندید با چه وضعی تو خورده ای به زمین. دیدن نبی عبدالله اومد بالا سر عباسش، اما چرا بلند نمیشه؟ رفتن سمت خیمه ها عباس، ترسم از غارت تو و خیمه ام. دیگه دشمن از کی به ترس عباس؟ ترسم از غارت تو و خیمه ام. این جماعت زهرس لبریزن، نروم میروم سمت خیام، بروم بر سر تو میریزن. همه بگن حسین. ماشاءالله امشب خوب نوکری کردی ها، خدا خیرت بده. اللهم عجل ولیک الفرج. خدایا تعجیل در ظهور بفرما به حق علمدار کربلا. قلب نازنین اماممان از ما راضی و خشنود بگردان. خدایا ثوابی از این مجلس به روح رفتگان جمع عنایت بفرما. خدایا ما را آنی و کمتر از آنی به خود وا مگذار. خدایا از نسل و ذریه ما محب اهل بیت قرار بده. خدایا این قلیل توسلات ذخیره قبر و قیامت ما قرار بده. خدایا لحظه های آخر عمر ما لحظه های تشریف فرمای آقا امام رضا قرار بده. قدم های این جمع به کربلای معلا برسان. خدایا آنچه گفتیم و نگفتیم و بدان محتاجیم از خزانه لطف و کرمت به ما عنایت بفرما. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات.